Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience. I'm your host, Big Les. Make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. We are going to be going through week 3 of the Pacific Championships, the second last week of footy. We've got the Kiwis taking on Tonga and then PNG taking on Cook Islands as well. As I said, if you haven't already, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. We've got plenty of off-season interviews up and coming. Obviously, we do these previews as well on the YouTube. I'll be going through and doing a few transfer podcasts and news podcasts on the YouTube during the off-season as well. So there'll be plenty of content on here. So become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. Our socials and our link tree, they are all down below. So make sure you go ahead and get stuck into all of that. We'll start off with the Kiwis and Tonga on your Saturday night at 6 p.m. Loving this matchup. I think it's going to be one of the tougher games we see. Obviously, Australia were a little bit better than both of these sides. Australia still have a lot to work out. There was a lot of errors in both of those games, 19 and then 11 for Australia. So they've still got a lot to work out on their end. But I think that with the Kiwis coming into this one, playing, I think, 3 weeks in a row, obviously going into next week if they do go on to beat Tonga, they're going to have the luxury of gelling together for that long period. So Kiwis, I really do like them in this matchup. I think that they probably are going to get the win. I really like just how they're gelling. I'm really like Shaun Johnson, how he's gelling with the outside backs as well. Chance at 6 for me is a bit of an interesting one. I don't think it's working too well. Defensively, he's been solid as that bigger body there. Obviously, they let in that try to Mitch Moses back on the inside. Obviously, when Dylan Edwards cut through the line, he sort of, it was a bit of a poor defensive read and not much communication between him and Peter Hiku. But other than that, I thought he was defensively solid. He made around 35 tackles. But in attack, they just haven't really figured out his role. It's sort of like he's just been chucked in there and they've expected him to just know what he's supposed to do in that number 6 jersey when it's only like the 5th or 6th time he's been there and in his entire career. And that includes New South Wales Cup games as well. I think he's only played 2 or 3 games at 5'8" in the NRL. So, I don't blame him too much for, not really knowing his role there in that number 6 jersey. He did play there 2 times this year, but they just haven't figured out his role in that 6 jersey. Is he a runner? Is he supposed to be setting up tries and being an organiser? I think that, and as we spoke about it too in that first game for the Kiwis, I think he's just got to be a runner. That's his role. He just needs to run the football really well. He's so good coming out of his own end, so they do miss that with not having him there at fullback. But just those tough carries and runs, obviously setting up opportunities with his running game, I think that's going to be the main focus for Chance Nickel-Clockstad. We know that Shaun Johnson can run this side. His kicking game was outstanding for majority of the game, really doing well, running both sides of the ruck and setting up opportunities. I think that Shaun Johnson's clearly the organiser. You've just got to play off the back of that Chance and obviously use your running game to do that as well. In regards to the rest of the side, obviously Nafa'u White stands out to me, really stood out last week. He's going to be starting with the likes of Tarpanay and James Fisher-Harris in the front row. I think that Tonga need to match that intensity that New Zealand are going to be coming out with in this game. Fisher-Harris, Tarpanay, Nafa'u White v. Addin Fonua-Blake, Felice Kafusi, Jason Taumalolo. It is going to be a really tough physical start to this contest. And Tonga really do need to match that. And we saw how they played at the start of the game against Australia, that physicality that they had. They've really got to carry that on into this contest going up against New Zealand, starting and keeping that consistency with their aggression throughout the entire game is going to be really, really critical. Addin Fonua-Blake's going to be a key part of that. Taumalolo is going to be a key part of that as well. Felice Kafusi, obviously a veteran in that middle there as well. Bit of mobility, obviously having that experience in the back row. Has some nice little footwork, real tough, has really progressed into that middle sort of role. Looking for him to also bring that aggression. I know that obviously Addin Fonua-Blake, Jason Taumalolo, they'll be the real momentum guys. They'll be the ones that lay the platform. But he's also got to be, bring that physicality as well. And we know that he can do that through his defense. So can Haumole Olakau'atu, Eli Katoa, It is going to be a beautiful battle for the forwards throughout this entire contest, but particularly in the first 5 to 10 minutes. It's going to be a real bloodbath, in my opinion, at least. And I think one of the big reasons as to why Tonga sort of fell away in that Australia game was they weren't able to keep that intensity consistent. It was great at the start of the game, but obviously as the game went on, they lost a lot of that momentum and intensity. And obviously Australia got the momentum and they ran away with things a little bit towards the back end of the contest. So keeping that aggression throughout the entire game, especially against New Zealand. And I think for both sides, and they've done it well so far in this World Cup, but just keeping the errors low. You don't want to be giving away too many opportunities both ways, from New Zealand to Tonga and from Tonga to New Zealand. You do not want to be giving away too many opportunities to either one of these sides because they've got so much strike, particularly out wide. For New Zealand, it comes from Jermaine Asako, it comes from Will Warbrick, Peter Hiku, Matsumoko. Keanu Kinney was outstanding against Australia. He's going to be a real threat for the Tongan defence. Obviously, then you're going up against guys like Moses Suli, Paul Alamotti, Sione Katoa, Daniel Tupou, a real threat in the air. And that's another big thing, which we'll talk about in a second. But Isaiah Katoa's kicking game has really got to take a lift. Really iced set plays well against Australia. There was a few times where the kicks didn't really go where he wanted them to go. But that's really got to be pinpoint in this game, especially, as I said, against New Zealand with how Shaun Johnson's kicking game was against Australia. He's definitely got to bring his A game with that kicking game, and we know how good at its best the kicking game from Isaiah Katoa can be. Leo Opawade has got to get a little bit more involved in this contest as well, and obviously in those spread sets, he's got to be really lethal, as we've seen for the Manly Sea Eagles. I do think that he's got to get a little bit more involved. I can't wait to see this Paul Alamotti and Isaiah Katoa combo really gel, particularly on last tackle kicks. Paul Alamotti was one of the better kick chasers, in that final series, just with how he would kick chase, but also, really jam people in their own end. And particularly against Melbourne, it was outstanding. I really want to see that again here from Paul Alamotti. We talked about the forward battle. We talked about the outside back battle, but the halves battle as well. We sort of touched on it a little bit. Katoa's kicking game's got to be on. Shaun Johnson's kicking game's got to be on. Lola Hia's got to help Katoa out a little bit with that experience. They've got to gel better as a halves pairing. They sort of seem to be a bit of, two individuals in this contest. They've really got to gel. And that's the same for the New Zealand halves pairing as well. Chan's working out his role. Shaun Johnson with the kicking game as well and setting up Chance for opportunities with his running game. That is going to be really key for both sides in this contest. As I said, it's probably going to be one of the tighter games. I know that the bookies don't have it as tight. $3 for Tonga, $1.39 for the Kiwis. I've got the Kiwis winning. I think that Tonga can win, but I do have the Kiwis winning. And obviously how that works going into the following week is that Tonga would verse the winner of PNG and Cook Islands. But in regards to a bit of a multi, don't have prices up here, but we will get some. I know we didn't do it for the last few weeks, but we will get that sorted. We'll obviously do that bet slip like we did last week. In terms of the bet for this game, I've got the Kiwis to win. In regards to try scorers, give me Will Warbrick. Obviously scored really nicely against Zach Lomax with that step, that backward step to turn around and obviously go back there and score. I've got Will Warbrick to score a try in this one. And then I've also got, who we're going to pick here from Tonga. I like Paul Alamotti. As I said, I think this Katoa-Paul Alamotti combo is going to be beautiful to watch in this contest. So give me Paul Alamotti. Give me, who did I say? Will Warbrick, Paul Alamotti to score, Kiwis to win. Let's move on to the PNG side, taking on Cook Islands. Look, obviously PNG have really established themselves as probably the better team in this specific bowl. Cook Islands, they've got a lot to work out. I think the big thing for me watching Cook Islands last week was the fact that they did not have any direction. It was very just, trying to chance their arm on every single play. And they stayed in the contest and just kept coming back and kept trying, which was a great sign. But they do lack direction. They've got a center in the halfback jersey. They've got a center in the 5'8 jersey as well. Big body, big kicking game from Brad Takarangi. But you've basically got two centers there sitting in the halves, which doesn't help in regards to finding that direction. I think that was the one criticism of Isan there in the number 7. Maybe you do, or hopefully a number 7 that wants to play for Cook Islands comes through the ranks and they chuck him in there, because they do miss that direction. They really do miss that direction. Isan Masters, though, I think the one thing that I was impressed with from his game last week, I know that it was a real tough game for Cook Islands. They got pumped by Fiji, but Isan's running game is really dangerous when they do get a bit of momentum. Particularly at the start of that game with Tepai Maroa and David Mawali starting. And they did get a bit of momentum at the start of that game. Isan's got a beautiful running game there in that halfback sort of role. Almost plays like a second 5'8". It's like playing with two 5'8". I think that, Brad Takarangi probably plays a little bit more like the 7, obviously with the kicking duties and obviously being the bigger body. He doesn't have the X factor and stuff like that. So he obviously tries to direct the side a little bit, but maybe play to that. Obviously have Takarangi acting as the 7, but have Isan Masters running the ball, creating opportunities with his running game as well, similar to what we talked about with New Zealand. You have Takarangi, organising, setting up plays and stuff like that. Yes, Takarangi's ball skills have come down a little bit, obviously since retiring from NRL football. But, him setting up opportunities there and just keep that role simple. And then obviously Isan Masters can destroy things with, his running game and look to create opportunities with his running game. I think that's the play there for this Cook Islands side. Yeah, I think that was one of his strengths. I don't think he kicks much. Again, going into this one, as I said, just really, trying to create opportunities with the running game rather than acting as a halfback, because it clearly doesn't work, him acting as the halfback. Just kill him with the running game. Play like a second 5'8" or like a second fullback, just roaming both sides of the ruck and creating opportunities. As well, the forward battle is going to be huge. Obviously, PNG, they do come out with a real intensity, and they have throughout this entire Pacific Championships, including in the PM's game for those that played. Just matching that intensity a little bit, Cook Islands, because I think if PNG come out intense, raring, ready to go, and they keep that consistent throughout this, at least the first half, I think it's going to get too out of hand for Cook Islands. I think they really need to match that intensity from the get-go. David Mawali was definitely the standout for Cook Islands. I think that he's really got to step up here and have a big, big impact. I'm hearing word that Alex Glenn might get a shot and might play. That would be amazing to see. Obviously, last game in 2020, 2021, I think there for Alex Glenn, so hasn't played in a few years. I really am looking forward to seeing potentially him come back into this side. But the starting forwards, Mawale, Maroa, obviously with a bit of experience there in the front row. Pride Peterson, Rabati there at 13. Tetavano coming in the middle for runs as well. They've really got to start with a real strong intensity and match what the intensity that we know PNG is going to come out with as well. As for PNG, just doing what you did last, 2 weeks back as well when you last played. Intense, real rough start to the game, obviously trying to, hurt this Cook Island side and keep them in their own end like they've done against other sides in this Pacific Bowl and obviously in that Prime Minister's game as well. Doing that, obviously, Lockie Lamb and Labour were outstanding 2 weeks back. I want to see that again from them in this one. Just the direction of Lockie Lamb and then Labour. The fact, as we say it every week, but the fact that he hasn't got an NRL contract is absolutely insane. He is so talented. He always does well in these World Cups. So just him having another big day out. Lockie Lamb as well there, the skipper. DeBellin there at 13 is going to have a huge game. Nina McDonald was a real standout for me 2 weeks ago for PNG. Him having a big game as well. I think that PNG could win 13 plus here. I don't think anyone's surprised by that. From what we saw from Cook Islands last week, I just don't think that they're much of a shot, particularly with how much better PNG was to Fiji. If Fiji has beaten Cook Islands already by a significant margin, this is just going to be scary. They've really got to come out with a level of toughness, as I said, matching this PNG side, and then obviously working out the dynamic of his halves pairing. Takarangi, for me, I think, as I said, would be more of the 7 since he's not dynamic and has, the X factor, just keeping it real direct and organising. And then Isan Masters, he can kill them with the running game. I think that's the dynamic you've got to have here for this Cook Islands team. For me, I think PNG win. I think PNG 13 plus is a really nice multi. Anytime try scorers, Judah Rimbu has scored in that Prime Minister's game. He's also scored last week or 2 weeks ago when he played. I'm taking Judarimbu to score again as a bit of value. Only going to pick the one try scorer in this game just so we can keep it very simple with the multi. As I said, we put this all into one big packaged up multi as well, so we're not going to throw too many legs in there. Obviously, the odds for that will come out on the Instagram page tomorrow afternoon, that big multi. We did get the first game right, the Fiji game. We got that bet correct with Semi Valame going over and Fiji winning. The second half of the bet wasn't as lucky, but look, we'll obviously try and get this one up. Judarimbu to score, PNG to win 13 plus, and then for the New Zealand Kiwis and Tonga game, in regards to that half of the multi, we've got Will Warbrick and Paula Lamotti to score with the Kiwis to win head-to-head. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the Big LEZ'S League YouTube, become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. Link tree down below to all the socials, so make sure you get stuck into that as well. We'll see you guys in the next one.